Hidden beneath the mountains and deserts of Nevada lie stories of lost mines, buried gold, and outlaw loot that time forgot. From forgotten stagecoach robberies to caches hidden in ghost towns, these tales have endured for generations, whispered among prospectors and printed in the old treasure magazines. In this video, we'll revisit some of the most intriguing lost treasure legends from the Silver State. These are the lost treasures of Nevada. One of the richest silver deposits ever found in the United States may have been discovered in Nevada in 1849 by 3 immigrants en route to California. This mysterious find, which has never been seen since, has become one of the great lost mine legends of the Old West. Alan Harding and 2 companions were on foot, traveling to California, when they left the emigrant trail one morning to hunt for small game in the barren wilderness of the Black Rock Range, now located in southwest Humboldt County, Nevada. Their discovery of silver came just a short distance from the Applegate-Lassen Cutoff, an alternate route to California's goldfields. This trail led emigrants northwest toward the Mount Shasta region, avoiding the treacherous 40-mile desert that lay along the path to Sacramento. The Humboldt Trail, a major emigrant route, ended near present-day Imlay, Nevada. The Applegate-Lassen Cutoff branched off from Lassen's Meadow, a large natural resting spot with abundant hay. After traveling 300 miles down the Humboldt River, weary emigrants often stopped here to rest, cut hay, and fatten their livestock before continuing their journey across 2 forbidding deserts. The 40-mile desert to the south was a feared stretch, often compared to Africa's Great Desert. The trail was strewn with the remains of broken wagons, abandoned gear, and the skeletons of animals. To the northwest, the Black Rock Desert presented a similar challenge, but Peter Lassen, the proprietor of a trading post, convinced many emigrants to take his route, claiming it was shorter. In reality, it was neither shorter nor less dangerous, as hostile Native American tribes often attacked the wagon trains. The Applegate-Lassen Cutoff wound its way from Rye Patch Meadows, past Rabbit Springs, and stretched across the Black Rock Desert, named for the towering black basalt outcrop at the southern end of the Black Rock Range. Early maps sometimes referred to these mountains as the Harlequin Hills. The Black Rock Range itself is about 45 miles long and between 2.5 to 14 miles wide. The trail skirted the rocky cape at the southern tip of the mountains and continued through the desert between the Calico Mountains to the west and the Black Rock Range to the east. Pahute Peak, located beyond Mud Meadows about 24 miles north, was the next landmark the emigrants sought. Upon reaching it, they turned west toward High Rock Lake, making their way through High Rock Canyon and onward to the Mount Shasta region of California. Lost somewhere between the Black Rock Outcrop and Mud Meadows, in the rugged mountains east of the trail, lies what could be one of the world's most incredible treasures, the Black Rock Silverado. It was during the summer of 1849 when Alan Harding and his companions, nearly destitute, stumbled upon the silver deposit while hunting. The trio had chosen the Applegate-Lassen route after hearing at Lassen's Meadow that it was shorter. The wagon train they were traveling with made camp one night between the southern tip of the Black Rock Range and Mud Meadows. Short on supplies, the 3 men set out early the next morning to hunt in the nearby mountains. Fortunately for them, the Paiutes, a warring Native American tribe, were not a threat, having been confined by the cavalry to the mountains farther north. After an unsuccessful morning of hunting, Harding and his companions turned back to rejoin their camp. But before they returned, they made a discovery that would spark the enduring legend of the Black Rock Silverado, a treasure still lost to this day. On their way back to the trail, the men passed through a wide, deep gully carved into the mountainside by heavy rains. Embedded in the bank near the bottom of the ravine, they noticed large, irregularly shaped chunks of a metallic substance. Curious, they scrambled down into the gully to examine their find. Scattered all over the bottom of the gulch and embedded in the sides of the wash were pieces of white metal, ranging in size from tiny kernels to huge chunks. Picking up several of the pieces, the men were astonished by their weight. Some easily weighed 30, 40, or even 50 pounds. Harding selected one large chunk and, using his knife, cut into it. The metal was surprisingly soft and malleable, and where the blade sliced through, the exposed surface gleamed with a bright silvery sheen. Initially, they thought it might be lead, but after closer inspection, they concluded that it was native silver. Excited by their discovery, they explored the area further. The gulch appeared to cut through a massive silver vein, with the metal visible on both sides of the ravine. Based on their observations, they estimated that there were wagon loads of silver, like a real-life Aladdin's cave. Thrilled, the men brought a 25-pound chunk of the metal back to camp, eager to share the news. However, their fellow emigrants were unimpressed. When the men asked the wagon drivers to transport the heavy metal to California, they were met with flat refusals. Harding even tried to appeal to their sympathies, pointing out that he and his companions were on foot and couldn't carry the extra weight. But one grizzled driver simply retorted, "I wouldn't take it in my wagon if it were pure gold." Realizing they couldn't haul the silver across the desert and through High Rock Canyon, Harding melted down a piece of the metal into a small button before they continued their journey. When the three men finally reached Shasta, California, they showed the silver button to local miners, recounting how and where they had found it. The miners confirmed that it was indeed silver, but they were focused on finding gold and had little interest in silver. One miner quipped that he wouldn't go to the Black Rock country, even if it were made entirely of silver. In 1850, Harding sent the silver button to an assayer in San Francisco. Unfortunately, it was lost in a fire that swept through the city that year. Discouraged, Harding eventually settled in Petaluma, California, where he met Frederick Alberding, a recent arrival from the Rogue River country. The two became close friends, and Harding shared the story of the Black Rock Silverado with Alberding. Upon hearing the tale, Alberding became excited, having heard a similar story while in Rogue River from one of the original discoverers. Convinced that the Silverado was real, Alberding helped Harding form a company to search for the lost silver deposit. The group included several notable individuals, such as M.S. Thompson, A.B. Jameson, Al Whiteside, Charles Humphreys, Major James Pingley, Holt Fine, and R. McGuire. Thompson would later go on to become a Nevada state senator. In July 1858, 9 years after the original discovery, the group set out for Humboldt County, Nevada. Upon reaching a location between Black Rock and Mud Meadows, where Harding believed they had camped years before, they began their search. The team methodically explored the mountains east of the Emigrant Trail, searching every ledge, gully, and crevice for the lost silver. For 2 years, the company scoured the area, sometimes with as many as 70 people in the search party. However, the silver seemed to have vanished as if by magic. Thompson speculated that the heavy rains back in 1849 had washed away the earth covering the vein, and over the intervening years, storms had filled in the gulch with debris, burying the silver once again. Despite their efforts, the treasure remained elusive, and Thompson eventually called off the search in 1860, disheartened by the mysterious disappearance of the Black Rock Silverado. In 1860, Harding, Thompson, and Jameson were exploring the Black Rock country when word reached them that Major Ormsby had been defeated by the Paiutes. The local tribes were reportedly laying waste to the countryside, prompting the treasure seekers to leave and head to Honey Lake Valley to help protect settlers. After the Paiute uprising was subdued, none of the original group ever returned to the Black Rock country in search of the Silverado. In the years that followed, the legend of the Black Rock Silverado captivated prospectors. Many adventurers ventured into the area, scouring it for the rich silver vein Harding had discovered. However, most returned empty-handed, and those who did bring back samples were met with disappointment. When assayed, these specimens were found to be silver chlorides, iodides, cyanides, bromides, and nitrates, not the native silver they had hoped for. Several mines were opened in the Black Rock region, but they often closed due to the difficulty in processing the ores. In 1867, the assayer and surveyor of Humboldt County issued a report explaining that much of the trouble stemmed from a misunderstanding of the nature of the ore. He stated, "The ores are true salts of silver and gold, which have already undergone an important step in the process of reduction within the earth. They appear as chlorides, iodides, bromides, cyanides, and nitrates. To attempt to chloridize a chloride is sheer folly, yet this is what many miners have tried to do. At the time, gold was the primary target for most prospectors, and few paid attention to the assayer's analysis of the silver ores. The methods required to extract the silver were costly and inefficient, leading to the failure of many mining ventures in the Black Rock country. Mines that opened after 1867 soon shut down, either due to the poor quality of the ore or because the deposits were quickly exhausted. According to the Nevada Bureau of Mines, the ore deposits in the Black Rock Range are confined to areas of pre-volcanic rock, with veins localized by faults that cut through pre-tertiary rock. If Harding's treasure of native silver exists, it would likely be found in such geologic terrain. Despite the extensive searches carried out more than a century ago, Harding's original discovery has never been relocated, and its whereabouts remain a mystery. Though it is believed to lie hidden somewhere in the Black Rock Range, several miles east of Harding's old campsite along the Emigrant Trail, the silver has never been unearthed. The treasure continues to sleep, its legend alive but its location unknown. Will the sleeping silver giant ever be reawakened?
In the realm of prospectors, it is not unheard of for one to lose a single mine. But to lose two, that borders upon the realm of incredulity. And if, by some unfortunate twist of fate, a third mine were to go astray, well, such an event would surely be deemed absolutely impossible. Yet, dear reader, I must inform you that this very occurrence did transpire, and it is a matter of historical record. The explanation, it seems, lies in the words of the prospector himself. "The blame falls upon that dim-witted Dutchman," he lamented, his self-disgust evident. "And who might that Dutchman be, you ask? Alas, it is none other than I, Peter Pringle of Bavaria, Germany." Arriving in Nevada around the turn of the 20th century, Peter Pringle toiled in the mines for a number of years, carefully amassing a modest sum of money. His heart yearned for the freedom to venture forth as an independent prospector, but his means were limited to a humble spring wagon, colloquially known as a Democrat, along with a set of harness and a team of horses. Through his persuasive charm, he convinced a saloon owner in Goldfield to provide him with the necessary supplies and stake him financially. With this meager equipment, Peter set out into the treacherous desert, fully aware of the risks and dangers that lay ahead. The desert-dwelling skeptics, with their incessant head-shaking, deemed the Dutchman utterly mad for embarking on such a perilous endeavor. Undeterred, the resolute prospector gradually traversed the desolate wastelands to the southeast of Goldfield, skirting the edges of Paiute Mesa until he found himself venturing into the arid, unforgiving foothills of the southern Cowich Mountains. By what can only be described as sheer luck, Peter stumbled upon a meager spring, its droplets trickling forth with a modest abundance. It was at this humble oasis that he chose to establish his camp. The melted remnants of winter snow and the precious water from the spring allowed a thin layer of grass to emerge, providing a meager sustenance for his horses, who relied upon the oats carried in his wagon for their nourishment. Peter Pringle, a phlegmatic man hailing from Bavaria, was of short stature and a tad chunky. As a greenhorn in the rugged Nevada terrain, he hadn't learned much during his sojourn. Landmarks and water holes held little significance to him, for his memory was as fleeting as a golden snitch. This almost proved fatal for the 25-year-old prospector. In the second week, Pringle ventured out to prospect, oblivious to the dwindling flow of the spring. He didn't bother to check the water barrel in his wagon, neglecting the signs that thirst was fast approaching. It was the following day, with the spring fading fast, when he stumbled upon a thrilling discovery, a float in a dry wash half a mile from his camp. Enthralled by this find, he painstakingly traced the float to its source, spending 5 long days on the task. The source, a ledge of rotten quartz, lay about a mile from his camp. Armed with a miner's pick, he chipped away at the ore, gathering enough to fill 2 gunny sacks, each weighing around 50 pounds. By the time Pringle began his journey back to camp, nightfall had descended on that scorching August day in 1904. His canteen was dry as the forbidden forest, and thirst drained him of his strength. He had to set down 1 sack, carry the second a short distance, and then return for the one he left behind. This meant traversing twice the distance to bring both sacks of ore to camp. Under a sky adorned with twinkling stars, Pringle finally dragged the last sack into camp. The desert heat, though still demanding, seemed to relent. His horses, parched and desperate, stood before the spring that trickled from a rocky ledge, their hooves pawing the ground in a desperate plea for relief. The spring had ceased its flow entirely, leaving a desolate hole devoid of water. Realizing the gravity of the situation, Pringle decided to feed the horses from the barrel in the wagon, only to discover it was empty. With a heavy heart, he prepared and consumed his supper, knowing that he had no other choice but to leave immediately, taking advantage of the cover of night and the absence of the scorching sun. Determined, Pringle unloaded everything from the wagon except for a sack of oats, an empty barrel, and some canned food. The 2 sacks filled with gold-laden ore were carefully placed in the wagon bed, representing a substantial fortune. He harnessed the horses to the wagon and embarked on a grueling journey to the Stonewall Mountains, a daunting 75 miles away. Although he had forgotten about the closer water holes, he pressed on, knowing that a regular trail with water sources awaited him. Progressing slowly throughout the night and the following day until noon, Pringle eventually halted to give the weary horses a much-needed rest. The animals suffered greatly from thirst and were rapidly deteriorating. Pringle sustained himself with a meager meal of canned tomatoes and evaporated milk, the only liquid he had left to sustain his own life. There was nothing for the horses. As nightfall arrived, Pringle embarked on the arduous trek once more, struggling to keep the horses moving at a snail's pace. The following day brought another desperate march, intensifying the battle against the unforgiving desert. On the 3rd day, Pringle stumbled upon a rarely traveled trail, raising his hopes for assistance. However, these hopes were swiftly dashed as there were no signs of recent activity. Nevertheless, the trail led him to a lukewarm waterhole the next day, offering a glimmer of hope amidst the desolation. As Peter Pringle arrived at the destination, his mind teetered on the edge of madness, scorched by the relentless sun, and his weary body matched the exhaustion of his horses. Desperate to quench their thirst, the equine creatures hastened towards the water, and Pringle, unaware of the consequences, failed to halt them. Yet the prolonged deprivation of water proved fatal as their bellies grotesquely distended, leaving them in excruciating agony. Helpless, Pringle watched as his loyal companions succumbed to their suffering, their last breath stolen by the arid desert air. Throughout this ordeal, Pringle himself had refrained from taking a single sip of water, painfully aware of the dire consequences. Only after exercising utmost caution, he ventured to consume a few measured swallows, allowing an hour to pass before daring to drink again. Now traversing familiar territory, Pringle readied himself for the arduous 40-mile journey along the trail leading to Cuprite, a mere 15 miles south of Goldfield. Calculating that he could cover the distance in approximately 20 hours of walking, he packed just enough canned provisions to sustain him, ensuring he could carry a sack filled with precious gold ore. Setting off under the cover of night, Pringle made swift progress during the cool hours, though he was compelled to seek respite when the scorching sun transformed the surroundings into a blistering inferno. Following the seldom treaded path, he found himself converging with the main road that stretched from north to south. And there, just 5 miles away from Cuprite, a creaking freight wagon from the south caught up with him. Seizing the opportunity, Pringle hitched a ride in the wagon, allowing his weary body to recuperate before continuing onward to Goldfield. The saloon owner, who had generously provided Pringle with supplies, wasted no time in having the ore assayed. The results were beyond belief, as the ore boasted an astonishing value ranging from $12,000 to $15,000 per ton. With a heart brimming with excitement, he hastened to locate Pringle, urging him to seek assistance and venture forth to the miraculous discovery without delay. However, Pringle, steadfast and unyielding, shook his head resolutely. The ordeal he had endured in that infernal place, which had nearly claimed his life, had left an indelible mark on his spirit. Regardless of the immense wealth that awaited them, he vowed to sever all ties with it. Despite vehemently berating Pringle to no avail, the proprietor of the saloon dispatched men to retrieve the second sack of ore and the wagon from the waterhole. Upon approaching Pringle once more, the resolute Dutchman offered to chart a map revealing the gold load's whereabouts. But upon discovering that the wagon would not be returned, and the saloon owner intended to mill the ore, keeping the profits for himself, Pringle adamantly refused to provide the map. Under the shroud of night, the Dutchman bid farewell to Goldfield, embarking on a southern journey to Searchlight, where he toiled in the mines and mills. In due time, he returned to Goldfield in 1906, crossing paths with another German by the name of Hermann Schwarzkopf. Although Pringle's original grubstaker had since departed in 1904, the Dutchman dispatched 3 separate parties in a relentless quest to unearth his elusive discovery. In 1908, Pringle and Schwarzkopf pooled their meager resources and embarked on a joint prospecting expedition. Laden with burros, they ventured northward towards the Humboldt Range. Pringle, having learned from a disastrous previous endeavor involving a wagon, was determined to avoid a repetition of that misfortune. After aimlessly wandering through the mountains, their hopes gradually waned until they finally established a permanent camp at Black Knob Spring. Each day, the 2 men embarked on separate paths, diligently prospecting the rugged terrain. They tirelessly chipped away at any rock that held even the faintest promise, only to find their efforts unrewarded when the nightfall brought disappointingly insignificant samples. In the vast expanse of the desert, their dreams of unearthing a fortune remained unfulfilled. Yet, unbeknownst to Pringle and Schwarzkopf, destiny would soon unveil a twist of fate that would forever alter their lives and illuminate their path to prosperity. One fine morning, as the sun painted the sky with its golden hues, Pringle and Schwarzkopf embarked on their prospecting journey. Little did they know that this day would hold a fateful encounter. The camp was abuzz with excitement, but their joy turned to worry when the burros mysteriously vanished. With a determined spirit, Pringle set off to track their elusive companions. Following the faint traces of the 6 burros, Pringle found himself led towards a pass, almost 6 miles away from their camp. As dusk crept upon them, he managed to corral the wayward animals, but not before his eyes caught sight of promising rocks. Unable to resist the miner's urge, he took a pick and chipped off a few chunks, hoping for hidden treasures. Returning to camp under the cloak of darkness, their hearts raced with anticipation. Gathered around the crackling campfire, they examined the rocks, and their excitement soared. 3 large pieces revealed gleaming gold when tested. Hammer struck against stone, and golden nuggets cascaded like tiny stars. Their dreams were ignited, and sleep eluded them that night. With the first rays of dawn, they set forth following Pringle's tracks and the wandering burro's hoofprints. They stumbled upon places where rock had been broken, but the elusive source of the golden treasure eluded them. Days turned into a blur as they tirelessly searched, only to find disappointment in worthless rocks. Some would even refer to them as dumpite, weighing tons. Yet their indomitable spirit remained unyielding, for they knew that hidden treasures awaited them in the depths of the earth. For 3 long weeks, until their provisions dwindled, they scoured the land from dawn till dusk, pursuing any glimmer of hope. Eventually, they were compelled to venture westward, towards a bustling town by the railroad. It was there that Schwarzkopf bid farewell to Pringle, his spirit broken and his resolve depleted. Undeterred by his companion's departure, Pringle made 2 more valiant attempts to unearth the elusive gold vein that had haunted his dreams. Alas, both efforts proved fruitless, driving him back to the familiar grounds of the Cowich foothills. Yet even there, fortune eluded him, and he returned to town, consumed by frustration and self-reproach. Desperate to salvage his reputation, he regaled fellow prospectors with tales of the 2 magnificent lost mines. Pringle's account, though fantastical, gained credence and spread like wildfire. His tale reached far and wide, even finding its way into the pages of the esteemed Salt Lake Mining Review in September of 1909. This only served to lure more seasoned prospectors who, despite their better judgment, squandered valuable time in search of Pringle's phantom riches. Undeterred by repeated failures, Pringle ventured once more into the Kawich foothills and later into the Humboldts. However, each expedition ended in disappointment. The desert became his reluctant home, and his once optimistic spirit soured into the depths of despair. Deep cerulean eyes, etched with the lines of countless sunsets, now possessed a faraway gaze, as if peering into an uncertain future. Having lost 2 prized mines, fate still held one final bitter blow in store for Pringle. He vanished from his usual haunts in Nevada, leaving those who knew him clueless as to his fate. Some prospectors, acquainted with his tale of misfortune, speculated that one day the wind would uncover his bleached bones, laying to rest the mystery that enshrouded him. Yet, the allure of Goldfield, the very name that had fueled his expeditions for countless years, proved too strong for Pringle to resist. Another Goldfield, this time in Arizona, beckoned to him, and so, in the year 1924, he resurfaced, drawn once more to the promise of gold. As the scorching desert suns had twisted and warped his middle-aged frame, a slightly deaf man emerged on the outskirts of Goldfield, nestled near the enigmatic Superstition Mountains. Accompanied by a string of burros from Phoenix, he settled into a solitary camp and secured employment with the Matsatsal Mining Company. Although gold had been unearthed years ago, Pringle's true motive was to explore the area while engaging in a semblance of work. His insatiable curiosity led him to bombard F.R. McElroy and other seasoned miners with countless inquiries, sharing tales of his Nevada escapades in return. After 4 months, Pringle bid farewell to his occupation, replenished his supplies, and vanished into the mysterious depths of the legendary superstitions. Many assumed he had succumbed to the age-old myth of the Lost Dutchman mine. However, Pringle harbored no interest in such legends. 2 months later, he reappeared, briefly camping before continuing his journey. He had stumbled upon a placer, a treasure trove of gold concealed beneath the grassy surface of a sprawling cove on the northern side of the mountains. Laden with gleaming nuggets, his burros trudged heavily under the weight of their golden cargo. Once the precious metal had been shipped, Pringle vowed to return, tirelessly panning the area until its riches were exhausted. "This time the Dutchman shall not outsmart me, Yah," he proclaimed. "This time I shall claim the gold without losing my mine." Fate, however, had a cruel twist in store for him, as it decided to grant Pringle a taste of fortune before snatching it away. Departing only as far as Apache Junction with his burros, he left them behind and continued his journey with a truck, carrying his raw gold to Phoenix. A week later, he triumphantly returned to Goldfield, his spirits soaring high. Unbeknownst to him, destiny chuckled at its malevolent plan. Following the trail of his burros, Pringle disappeared once more, vanishing amidst the colossal slopes of the mountains, concealed by towering saguaros. A moon's turn later, he returned, his visit brief as he procured provisions from the mining company store. His once garrulous nature had waned, a mere shadow of his former self. If words did escape his lips, they dripped with the bitterness of a venomous serpent. His meager circle of friends in Goldfield sensed that something had transpired, but none fathomed the loss of his precious placer. Nevertheless, it perplexed them that after a month's toil, he emerged empty-handed, devoid of glittering gold. Merely a month passed before he reappeared in Goldfield, his proclamation resolute. He was departing for good. Words tumbled forth in an unbroken torrent, punctuated by angry oaths. Astonishing as it may seem, he had indeed relinquished his third mine to the capricious hands of fate. The truth lay bare before him. He had failed to retrace his steps to the sacred cove nestled amidst the mountains. At first, he attributed his misfortune to the deluge that followed an abrupt thunderstorm. Once parched washes now flowed with a modest trickle when he returned. Yet he soon realized that this explanation fell short. The familiar landmarks he had etched in his memory had vanished, leaving him adrift. The truth stared him in the face. He had lost the coveted placer nestled within the flat, a treasure more bountiful than his previous 2 abandoned mines in Nevada. Pringle embarked on a journey trailing his faithful burros. Where his path led and what fate befell him remained shrouded in mystery. The Nevada goldfield withered on the vine, its vitality waning. The Arizona goldfield succumbed to desolation, its once thriving landscape plagued by decay and wind-swept emptiness when the golden ore depleted. Tales of Pringle's discovery on the northern side of the superstitions spread far and wide, enticing several men to embark on fruitless expeditions in pursuit of his lost bounty. F.R. McElroy and his companion ventured forth, their quest for the elusive treasure ending in disappointment. Although fragments of gold lay hidden beneath the grass in the vicinity, they amounted to a trifling sum, unable to be traced back to Pringle's vanished placer. Perhaps an unkind fate intended for the dumb Dutchman, Ja, to relinquish a mine capable of yielding untold riches to its discoverer.
In 1862, amidst a swift journey through Nevada, a horse carrying Pony Bob Haslam of the Pony Express stumbled, causing a chunk of rock to dislodge and catch his attention. This seemingly ordinary event sparked a remarkable discovery when the rock, taken to Virginia City, was identified as rich silver ore. The frenzy that ensued in California dwarfed even the chaos of Georgia's tumult as prospectors stampeded towards the Reese River district, particularly the burgeoning town of Austin, Nevada. Meanwhile, in Los Angeles, three men, McLeod, O'Banion, and Fogle, found themselves devoid of funds or transportation, but determined to reach Reese River upon hearing the news. The Silver Strike lay some 400 miles to the north, across an unforgiving expanse of mountain and desert, the most formidable in North America. While the established stage route offered a circuitous journey northwest to Sacramento City before veering eastward, a more direct path beckoned, albeit fraught with peril. Unlike the prudent majority who chose the safer stage route, Fogle and his companions opted to traverse the desert on foot, laden with provisions, blankets, canteens, and rifles for sustenance and defense. Despite warnings from the hospitable Padres at San Fernando Mission, they pressed onward, braving the Mojave Desert, skirting the Argus Range, and navigating the treacherous Panamint Valley before ascending the daunting Panamint Mountains. Upon reaching the eastern slope of the Panamints, they stumbled upon a primitive Indian trail leading to a rocky reservoir, where they found respite and water for the night. The rugged terrain made finding a suitable resting spot a challenge, but undeterred, they forged ahead, driven by the promise of silver awaiting them in the Nevada wilderness. McLeod and O'Banion shared a makeshift bed by the waterhole, while Fogle sought a separate spot about 200 yards away downhill. Their nightly routine involved sleeping fully clothed, only removing their shoes. This seemingly innocuous decision proved crucial for Fogle's survival. When he awoke to the sound of commotion in the night, a cacophony of shouts and groans signaling an Indian attack on his sleeping companions. Swiftly, Fogle grabbed his shoes and fled barefoot into the darkness, propelled by sheer desperation and a primal will to survive. Only someone possessing an extraordinary level of resilience and fortitude could navigate the jagged terrain and thorny obstacles as he did. Physically and mentally tough, Fogle pushed himself to the brink of sanity as fear gripped him. With the first light of dawn, Fogle found himself deep within Death Valley, hiding from imagined pursuers before summoning the courage to continue eastward. Despite his bruised and battered feet, he pressed on, driven by the dual forces of thirst and fear. In a stroke of luck, he stumbled upon a small alkali water spring, though the relief it brought was short-lived as it made him violently ill. Yet, he persevered, filling his shoes with water and limping forward, determined never again to sleep near a water source. As he ventured into the foothills of the Funeral Range, exhaustion weighed heavily upon him. He constructed a crude shelter behind a rock wall and rested fitfully. When morning broke, he resorted to drinking the remaining water from his shoes before embarking on the arduous ascent ahead. Halfway up the mountain, a glimmer of hope caught Fogle's eye, a verdant patch that hinted at a spring. Despite his dire condition, the allure of fresh water beckoned. However, his progress was halted by a remarkable discovery: veins of soft grayish-white rock infused with visible streaks of gold. Overwhelmed by the sight, Fogle collected several choice specimens and pressed on, his thirst momentarily forgotten in the presence of newfound riches. In this desolate terrain, the ore took on a pinkish hue, primarily composed of feldspar, and notably richer in gold than the earlier samples. Discarding his initial findings, Fogle gathered a bandana full of the pinkish ore within a matter of minutes, Despite his physical discomfort, he pressed forward towards the beckoning green spot, which turned out to be a low, bushy mesquite tree teeming with green beans. Consuming them voraciously, his hopes for water dashed. He succumbed to exhaustion and delirium. Though his mind faltered, Fogle's instinct for survival remained intact as he continued his northward journey, traversing the funeral range and the expansive Amargosa Desert. By some miraculous providence, he stumbled upon Baxter Springs, over 250 miles from his emergence from Death Valley, where clarity returned to him. After replenishing himself with water and foraged sustenance, he resumed his determined march towards the Reese River Silver Strike. Entering Smoky Valley, Fogle encountered the first sign of human habitation since the tragic events that befell his companions. A rancher named Wilson, astonished by the sight of barefoot footprints, swiftly caught up to him. Fogle's appearance left a lasting impression on Wilson, who described him as a towering, weathered figure, clad in tattered garments and carrying specimens of ore in his shoes. Recognizing the dire condition of the wild man of the desert, Wilson extended his hospitality, providing food and clothing with the assistance of his wife. A few days later, Wilson escorted Fogle to Austin, where he introduced him to a mining acquaintance named Jake Gooding. Gooding wasted no time in putting Fogle to work in a quartz mill, eager to glean as much information as possible about Fogle's mine. The ore samples Fogle presented spoke volumes, some boasting nearly half their weight in gold. Despite the scorching season, Gooding, accompanied by several men and well-equipped with horses, mules, water supplies, and provisions, organized an expedition 3 months later. Their journey faced an unexpected hurdle upon reaching the funeral range, where they encountered a hostile party of Panamint Indians, forcing them to retreat to Austin for reinforcements. Meanwhile, authorities in Los Angeles had been informed of the fate of Fogle's partners, leading to the discovery of their remains at the site described by the survivor. Undeterred, a second expedition comprising about a dozen men ventured forth during the winter, successfully navigating through the mountains to Death Valley without facing Indian hostilities. Fogle guided them to the alkali water spring where he had filled his shoes, and then to the makeshift rock shelter where he had sought refuge after the tragedy. However, when they arrived at the spot where Fogle had collapsed from exhaustion near the mesquite tree, uncertainty clouded their quest for gold. Despite Fogle's conviction about the location, discord among the party members erupted, with some ridiculing him for leading them astray. Amidst the chaos, doubts plagued the group and their unity disintegrated. Disheartened and divided, the gold hunters reluctantly abandoned their search and returned to Austin, their hopes of striking it rich dashed by the harsh realities of the desert landscape and the complexities of human nature. With Fogle's departure, the saga of what seemed like a straightforward journey to the eponymous mine came to an end. Many subsequent prospectors embarked on similar quests, but not all returned to share their experiences of failure. Nonetheless, desert enthusiasts continue their search. George Hearst, renowned mining magnate and father of the infamous publisher, invested in Fogle's dream, dispatching prospectors for 2 winters in pursuit of the elusive vein. Despite setbacks, Hearst remained convinced of its existence, as do many others, albeit with differing theories. Some speculate that while Fogle awaited favorable weather in Austin before reclaiming his gold, a cloudburst from the Funeral Mountains buried the treasure, hopeful that another deluge might unearth it. Among the myriad tales surrounding Fogle, one holds particular credence due to its origins. Donald F. McCarthy, the original narrator, gleaned first-hand information from Jake Gooding, who had extensive interactions with Fogle. Gooding had conversed with Wilson, Fogle's rescuer, befriended the adventurer, witnessed his golden rocks, and accompanied him on subsequent searches for the lost mine. McCarthy's own expeditions in search of the Fogle mine acquainted him with the rugged terrain, lending further weight to his account. During the peak of the silver rush to Washoe, stagecoach travel was anything but comfortable. The vehicles were narrow, bumpy, and often in bad shape. The heat was unbearable, and the flies and dust made everything worse, causing even the most religious folks to curse. One particularly rough stage was making its way from Hahntown to Virginia City, the Bonanza site, via the Johnson Cutoff. The passengers sighed with relief as the stage began descending towards Marmon Station, now Genoa. They were eager to reach the Comstock lode but looked forward to a break at this small settlement at the foot of the Sierras. Their relief turned to frustration when the driver suddenly stopped the stage high on the grade. They clambered out, grumbling and complaining, only to find themselves facing two men with mean-looking shotguns. The passengers' anger quickly turned to fear. The bandits weren't interested in robbing the passengers, but were after $20,000 in gold coins meant for the Virginia City mine payrolls. The express company had tried to keep this shipment a secret, so the passengers didn't know they were sitting on a small fortune disguised as ordinary cargo in a whiskey keg. Staring down the barrels of shotguns, the driver quickly unloaded the keg for the bandits. The sound of the coins brought smiles to their faces. After firing some shots and sending the stage on its way, they knew a posse would soon be after them. They decided to hide the heavy keg in a place where no one would find it. At the edge of the mountain, they rolled the keg to the base of a large pine tree and buried it among the roots. They promised each other they wouldn't touch the gold for 6 months and wouldn't tell anyone about it. After that, they'd meet up, split the gold, and go their separate ways. But trust was in short supply. Slim Haskins followed his partner, Shorty Chilton, after they parted ways. As Slim suspected, Shorty circled back to the treasure, dug it up, and reburied it under another pine tree. Feeling clever, Shorty left the area. Slim, hidden in the brush, waited until Shorty was gone, then dug up the gold again and moved it even deeper into the forest, reburied it under yet another pine. As expected, a posse from Mormon Station quickly took up the bandits' trail. Luck was on Slim's side, and he managed to slip away unnoticed. Shorty Chilton, however, wasn't so fortunate. The posse caught Shorty before he could make a run for it. Back at Mormon Station, the stage driver and passengers quickly pointed him out as one of the bandits who had stolen the mine payroll. A lot of the posse members were supposed to be paid with that stolen gold, so they were already in a foul mood after a long, tiring night in the saddle. Their patience was wearing thin, so they gave Shorty an ultimatum: return the money or face the noose. Faced with hanging, Shorty quickly decided to lead them to the gold, realizing these miners meant business. However, Shorty's directions only led the posse to 2 empty holes under 2 large pine trees. He tried to explain how he and Slim Haskins had buried the keg, how he had reburied it, but now it was gone. His babbled excuses didn't do much to calm the miners, who were about to miss out on their week's pay. In the end, Shorty was hanged from the very pine where he had first buried the keg of golden eagles. Meanwhile, Slim Haskins was much luckier. After slipping away from the posse, he headed to the safety of Colorado. Later, hearing about big strikes in Idaho and Montana, he wandered there and made several profitable finds. Slim didn't need the buried keg of gold, so he left it where it was, thinking of it as money in the bank for a rainy day. As the years passed, Slim's luck held, and the keg of coins remained hidden. In January 1882, Slim fell seriously ill with a raging fever. Realizing his time was up, he told the story of the holdup and his partner's hanging to a miner friend who took care of him in his final days. After Slim's death, his friend made sure he was properly buried, then headed to Mormon Station to find the buried treasure. But a fierce late-season snowstorm hit the Sierras, burying the area in deep snow. In March 1882, a massive avalanche tore down the mountainside, destroying half the settlement, killing many, and injuring or burying dozens more. The remaining pines on the slope were splintered and broken. Slim's miner friend arrived at Mormon Station just in time to see the aftermath. Despite digging and searching the slope for months, he found nothing. Discouraged, he eventually gave up, but not before sharing Slim's story in the local saloon. Many remembered the holdup and hanging, sparking a rush to search the slope. Days of digging turned up nothing, and the treasure remained hidden. To this day, it's believed that the keg of golden coins is still buried somewhere on the slope above Nevada's oldest settlement, once called Mormon Station, now known as Genoa. It might stay there forever, or it could be waiting for a lucky finder. Another story comes from North Carolina, treasure at the last campsite. In the fading echoes of the Civil War, North Carolina stands as a testament to history, where the remnants of that tumultuous time still linger. Within the ancient lands of the Piedmont, the scars of war were but a mere whisper. Yet it is here, in the Piedmont County of Randolph, that the spirit of the Civil War endures, beckoning those who seek its relics. Amidst the tranquil embrace of Randolph County, a humble town known as Red Cross holds within its embrace the poignant memory of General Joseph E. Johnston's Confederate Army. It was here, in this unassuming corner of the world, that thousands of Southern soldiers found respite, their encampment spanning a mere 3 miles. However, their sojourn was brief, for it was within the hallowed grounds of Red Cross that the fateful tidings of General Johnston's surrender to General W.T. Sherman reached their ears. The quaint homestead of James Bennett, nestled near what is now the city of Durham, NC, bore witness to the solemn signing of the surrender, marking the end of an era. Here, amidst the tranquil beauty of the Piedmont, the poignant tale of the Civil War lives on, waiting to be discovered by those who seek to unravel the mysteries of history. In the aftermath of surrender, the Confederate soldiers, bound by solemn decree, were compelled to depart from their encampment, leaving behind their equipment and arms as they embarked on the journey homeward. To those who seek the vestiges of this pivotal moment in history, the campground stands as a poignant testament, nestled just 12 miles southeast of Greensboro, NC, along Highway 49A. Here, at Red Cross, the campground unfurls its storied past, lying to the west of the highway, awaiting the curious and the intrepid. The custodian of this hallowed ground, a denizen of Red Cross, holds sway over its main expanse, and in a gesture of magnanimity, has granted permission to seekers of history, allowing them to seek relics amidst its sacred soil. The sole entreaty of the custodian echoes through time, that any disturbances wrought in pursuit of relics be dutifully mended, honoring the sanctity of the land. Within this historic realm, treasure hunters have unearthed a trove of relics, each bearing testimony to the bygone era. Mini balls, rifles, cannonballs, belt buckles, breastplates, swords, and even the echoes of old coins, each whispering the secrets of a time long past. As the shadows of history beckon, the forgotten campground stands as a silent witness, ready to reveal its enduring mysteries to those who dare to seek. By the dim light of a waning Nevada moon, 5 exhausted men labored through the night, digging a deep hole using nothing but pocket knives in their bare hands. The effort was grueling. After 5 brutal days under the relentless desert sun, with no water to sustain them, their strength was nearly gone. Once they had reached a depth of about 4 feet, they carefully lowered an oaken water barrel into the pit. Then, they backfilled the hole, carefully concealing it with sagebrush and rocks to ensure no trace remained. Inside that barrel was a fortune, approximately $100,000 worth of gold, including dust and nuggets, all taken from a remarkably rich placer deposit they had discovered in southern Nevada. These men were part of an 1851 expedition led by Frank Wilcox, a trader from Silver City, Idaho, known as both a seasoned trapper and a former Indian fighter. That spring, Wilcox and his party left Silver City on an extended prospecting journey into the harsh desert lands lying between the Humboldt and Snake Rivers. They were following in the footsteps of daring trappers who had once hunted beaver in the remote streams of the Jarbidge Wilderness. These men had returned with tantalizing stories of fabulous mineral deposits glinting in the gravel beds, and of the ever-present danger posed by war parties of the Western Shoshones, fierce defenders of their territory. The Shoshones, nicknamed the Sentinels of the Rockies, were known to show no mercy, sometimes burning captured prospectors alive as a grim form of entertainment for starving bands. It took only one promising discovery to ignite the entire expedition's hopes. Fired by dreams of riches, they scoured the buttes and mountain ranges like moles, burrowing into the earth in search of gold and silver. The idea was simple. Once a promising deposit was found, they would return to Wilcox and organize a full-scale expedition to exploit the find. Their journey took them deep into the Snake River drainage. They left the South Fork and headed toward the Ruby Mountains. By July, weeks into the trip, they had uncovered coarse gold in nearly every major stream and drainage they explored. Near the Owyhee River, they found more promising signs. Pan after pan of fine gravel revealed traces of placer gold, with the concentrations increasing as they neared the edge of the Great Basin. In early July, they arrived at the headwaters of the Owyhee, near a place called Independence. The river split into countless forks, rushing through narrow canyons and foaming over rocks. It was here, on the far side of the Rainbow Mountains, that they finally struck the deposit Wilcox had been chasing for a decade. The gold was coarse and rough, still dusted with oxide, clear signs that this was a genuine source deposit. The vein lay in a dry wash that cut through a steep canyon flanked by jagged rock spires. The discovery exceeded their wildest expectations. Within just 2 weeks, the 5 men had recovered over $100,000 in coarse gold. They worked tirelessly, panning, rocking, and digging in the blistering heat. So far, they had seen no signs of native activity, but just as they began preparing to return to Silver City, and later return with a pack train, the Shoshones attacked. Several men were killed in the initial ambush. Despite the violence, the survivors remained at the site and continued to work the placers for several more weeks. To make the most of the discovery, they spread out across multiple gulches, and even the men assigned to stand guard were permitted to pan the gold-rich gravel along the stream banks. By the end of the second week, they had recovered over 200 pounds of raw gold dust and nuggets, all of which they stored in one of their water barrels. But their activity along McCann Creek did not go unnoticed. The Shoshones had been watching. After quietly observing the prospectors and counting their numbers and weapons, Shoshone war parties from several bands began preparing for an ambush. They waited patiently until after midday, when the miners were scattered across nearly a quarter mile of stream bed. Then, moving stealthily within bow range of each man, the Shoshones launched a sudden and deadly volley of barbed arrows at the unsuspecting party. Several miners were wounded in the initial attack, but none were killed. The men quickly returned fire, forcing the Shoshones to abandon any attempt at close combat. The prospectors retreated to their camp, but soon realized that the site offered little protection. Grabbing a few provisions and the heavy container of gold, they made their way up one of the nearby high hills. Upon reaching the summit, they split into defensive positions and formed a perimeter, preparing for the next attack. The battle soon shifted into a siege. With no access to water and the Shoshones holding the upper hand, the miners were in a desperate situation. After 2 exhausting days, they agreed that 2 men would attempt to break through the enemy lines and head to Silver City for help. Miraculously, the 2 volunteers succeeded in slipping past the Shoshone forces and reached Silver City. There, they organized a rescue party and hurried back to the remote canyon where the battle had taken place. But when they returned, it was too late. The fight was over. The rest of the miners had been massacred, and the gold was gone. It was assumed the Shoshones had taken the treasure. For the next 3 years, the matter was left unresolved. Then, in July 1867, a new prospecting expedition from Austin, Nevada, was led to the site by a Paiute Indian named Captain Jim. His fee for guiding them was modest, just a few blankets and an axe. Upon arrival, the group organized a mining district and named it Tuscarora. News of their gold strike spread quickly, appearing in professional mining journals and attracting miners from all over the West. One of the newcomers later wrote to the American Journal of Mining, confirming that the placers matched the location of the 1864 discovery. "The placers here are not altogether new discoveries," he stated. "Holes have been found that show the early prospectors were here several years before. There seems to be a tragic, unwritten history behind the fate of that first party." According to the letter, a hill in the area had clearly been fortified. The remains of a white man were discovered along the creek, likely one of the ambushed miners. Evidence suggested that the group had been surprised by stealthy, deadly attackers. Some of the men had retreated to the fortified hill, where the rocks gave them temporary protection. The signs of the struggle were unmistakable. It was evident that the besieged prospectors had been well armed and brave, but the courage of a few could not withstand the bloodthirsty determination of more than 100 warriors. Cut off from water and far from any hope of rescue, their fate was sealed, either death in battle or capture followed by slow and brutal torture. The gold discovery at Tuscarora sparked a rush, attracting many men from Silver City. Among them were 3 individuals who had taken part in the original 1864 rescue attempt. Now, years later, they returned to the scene, hoping to uncover the truth behind the missing $100,000 in gold. If the Shoshones had taken it, perhaps it had been hidden among their people or traded to settlers along the Humboldt River. In the wake of the renewed interest, a military campaign was launched in northeastern Nevada, aiming to relocate the Shoshones to the Duck Valley Reservation. As prospectors re-examined the area, they used gifts, firewater, and trinkets to coax stories from the local Native Americans. Eventually, they convinced themselves that the gold had never been recovered by the Shoshones. Shoshone chiefs who had taken part in the 1864 raid consistently denied ever discovering a hidden cache of gold. Likewise, conversations with key storekeepers along the Humboldt Valley revealed no record of significant gold dust exchanges by local tribes in the years that followed. Based on this, the prospectors who revisited the area came to believe that the gold had likely been buried by the 5 surviving miners back in 1864, perhaps near the location of their final stand. Between 1868 and 1870, 3 determined miners from Idaho set out to find the site of the last stand, hoping to recover the hidden treasure. But the landscape had changed dramatically. Years of extensive placer mining had altered the terrain to such a degree that the searchers were unable to identify the low hill they believed marked the resting place of the fallen miners, and possibly their gold. Disguising their efforts as ordinary placer operations, the 3 men sank numerous shafts across large sections of unclaimed land. The area seemed to match their memories of the terrain as it appeared in 1864, but despite their efforts, no trace of the treasure was found. In 1870, they finally gave up the search and shared their account with the editor of the Revelo Independent in Idaho. On March 2, 1870, the Independent published a detailed article outlining the original 1864 expedition, the tragic conflict with the Shoshones, and the subsequent attempts to recover the lost hoard. Today, this well-documented tale of a nearly forgotten gold cache appears to have faded from the memory of modern-day residents of Tuscarora. Yet, with today's advanced metal detection technology and a renewed interest in historical treasures, there remains a very real possibility that the long-lost fortune could still be recovered. Nevada has always been a land of extremes, a desert state, dry and barren to the casual traveler, yet rich beneath the surface with secrets that have changed the fate of nations. At the dawn of the 1980s, gold production in the United States had nearly disappeared. The old mining camps were ghost towns, the gold rushes just distant memories. And yet, within just 2 decades, America would find itself ranked second in the entire world, behind only the legendary mines of South Africa. How did this happen? The answer is Nevada. Since 1990, the Silver State has given up more than 45 million ounces of gold, worth nearly $18 billion. Think about that. One state producing more wealth than almost any country on Earth. In fact, Nevada alone now ranks 3rd worldwide in gold output. The modern prospector, though, doesn't swing a pick or swirl a pan in a cold mountain stream. Instead, they wield satellite images, supercomputers, and master's degrees from the finest schools of geology and mining. But even with all this science, the lure is the same as it was in 1849, the chance to strike it rich. Take geologist Pat Cavanaugh, for example. With nothing more than a $20,000 grubstake and his knowledge of the land, he and his partner discovered the South Pipeline Field near Battle Mountain. In no time, they were millionaires. The strike itself proved reserves of more than 2.6 million ounces, over $1 billion in gold. The impact of this boom reshaped Nevada. Elko, once a sleepy town of fewer than 9,000, ballooned to more than 40,000 residents. Companies lured workers to the middle of nowhere with subsidized housing and wages nearly twice the state average. Gold fever once again gripped the desert. And as 4 principal districts, Battle Mountain, Getchell, the Carlin Trend, and the Independence Range, came alive, towns like Winnemucca, Eureka, and Elko thrived. But this modern prosperity rests on older, darker tales. Because long before geologists and hardhats found billion-dollar strikes, Nevada's deserts echoed with the stories of lost caches, outlaw hoards, and mysteries still waiting beneath the sand. One story begins, oddly enough, with a can of peaches. It was 1930 on Fremont Street in Las Vegas. A weather-beaten Paiute man, about 50 years old, walked into a grocery store. He placed a can of peaches on the counter and paid with a gleaming $20 gold piece. What seemed ordinary at first turned extraordinary when the coin was identified as loot from a robbery committed a full century earlier. Back in 1830, a Paiute warrior ambushed a mail carrier near El Dorado, stealing $45,000 in gold and murdering the man in cold blood. Outraged settlers demanded justice, and the tribe was forced to act. They chose the robber's own brother Avote to hunt him down. With a heavy heart, Avote accepted. He disappeared into the desert, only to return days later with his brother's lifeless body, the murdered carrier's gun belt, pistol, and $400 in gold. The rest of the treasure was never seen again. But the real story lay in what happened next. Avote could not live with what he had done. The weight of fratricide crushed him. He drank heavily, withdrew from his people, and by 1897 erupted in a violent rampage, killing half a dozen whites before he himself was hunted down and slain. 13 years later, in 1910, another man took up his mantle. His name was Quejo, and he idolized Avote. He launched a bloody one-man war that some say claimed 23 lives. Despite one of the largest manhunts in Nevada's history, Quejo vanished like smoke in the wind. And yet he was not gone. In 1930, the same renegade strolled into Las Vegas and bought peaches with gold linked to that century-old robbery. A decade later, his mummified body was found in a cave up the Colorado River. But the gold? Still missing. Legend has it that Avote once told Quejo where the mail carrier's loot was buried, somewhere near the McCulloch Range. Most researchers believe Quejo recovered it, only to rehide it. But where? That answer remains buried beneath the desert floor. And if that tale seems incredible, Nevada has more. Consider the day Butch Cassidy, the Sundance Kid, and Bill Carver robbed the First National Bank of Winnemucca. According to Pinkerton reports, the outlaws fled with over $30,000 in gold coins, plus a few thousand more in currency. The boys rode all that day. One Pinkerton informant noted, cashed their money, changed their clothes, and separated, each going his own direction. The trail led eastward alongside the railroad tracks, then veered north toward Squaw Valley. Somewhere along that route, Cassidy's gang hid their treasure. Whether it was ever recovered is a question no one has answered. Like so many outlaw stories, it leaves only a whisper, a hint that fortune still lies waiting in Nevada's deserts. But not all treasures were stolen. Some were found by chance and then inexplicably abandoned. Take John A. Snowshoe Thompson, a man remembered as the mail carrier of the Sierra Nevada. Born in Norway, Thompson built his own skis and carried mail across the high passes, often in the dead of winter, saving stranded travelers along the way. One day, while hauling mail, he stumbled upon a rich gold ledge. He even carried ore samples back home and told his wife he could see the ledge from their window in Diamond Valley. By most accounts, that would place it somewhere between Horseshoe Canyon and Hawkins Peak. And yet Thompson never minded, never staked a claim, never told anyone the exact location. He simply let it be. Why? That remains a mystery. Some say he had been soured by earlier failures in the California diggings. Others suggest he simply wasn't interested in personal gain. He certainly wasn't a drunk, a liar, or a dreamer. He was respected, upright, and dedicated to service. In fact, he waited 12 full years before even asking to be paid for his mail work. When pneumonia struck him down in 1876, the secret of the gold ledge died with him. If it still lies untouched, then Snowshoe's lost ledge may be one of Nevada's purest treasures, hidden not by crime or violence, but by choice. As the decades rolled on, new figures added their names to Nevada's treasure lore. By the Great Depression, the landscape had shifted from outlaws on horseback to gangsters with machine guns. One such man was Alvin Karpis, infamous member of the Barker Karpis gang. In his autobiography, Karpis admitted that in his early days he robbed so many jewelry stores, he often told people his occupation was jewelry salesman. The problem was unloading the loot, so he buried it instead. In Oklahoma, one such cache was later dug up and used as a bribe to dodge prison time. But other stashes? They were never found. Even after he graduated to bank robberies and kidnappings, Karpis kept the habit of burying loot to let the heat die down. On one occasion, he nearly ruined $100,000 when the leather sack he buried leaked during a damp spell. And in 1932, after a disastrous Minneapolis robbery that left 2 police officers dead, Karpis and the Barker family fled west, straight to Reno, Nevada. There, they rented a house, hiding out while the nation seethed over their crime. Karpis would later spend 33 years in prison. The Barkers would die in a bloody shootout, and yet, many researchers believe caches of their loot still lie undiscovered. If the location of that Reno hideout could ever be pinpointed, it might well conceal the forgotten fortune of one of America's most notorious gangs. From billion-dollar modern mines to ancient outlaw hordes, from Snowshoe Thompson's untapped ledge to Alvin Karpis's gangster caches, Nevada is far more than just desert. It is a land of gold, sometimes claimed, often lost, and always waiting to be found. And for treasure hunters, it remains one of the greatest frontiers of them all. Thanks for watching. If you'd like to read the original article or purchase the magazine from which it was taken, please check out our website, truetalesofburiedtreasure.com.